MQ presents Watermelon Rhubarb. Hello, and thank you for tuning into Watermelon Rhubarb. We are a movie, TV show, and media reviewing podcast. So if you love movies, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Miranda, and you can find me on Instagram at Miranda's Movie Media. That's MYRANDA, movies with an S, media. And today I have a lovely guest host with me who has been on the show before. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Huri, and a quick little fun fact is Dune is my most anticipated movie of the year, so hopefully it still comes out this year.
Hopefully. I mean, movies are looking a bit thin right now with the whole situation with the coronavirus, but you can always talk about movies, and today we're talking about the Star Wars Saga. For those of you who don't know, the Star Wars Saga was started in 1977 by George Lucas. He made the original trilogy, and then later in the early 2000s, the prequels were made. In 2012, Disney bought Star Wars from Lucas and started to make new films. These films included sequels, Star Wars story movies like Solo and Rogue One, and they even made a TV show called The Mandalorian. So now that we have a bit of intro, let's get started. What would you like to talk about first? Opinions, favorite movie, favorite part, music, cinematography?
We can go favorite movies, I guess.
Would you like to start with yours?
You can start.
Okay, so my favorite movie at the moment is Rogue One. It's a Star Wars story movie, and it's very interesting and complex and different. But it just takes regular people and gives them a chance to be the hero. There's no superpowers, no Jedi forces. Yeah, so that's why I like. Also, the score is really good, and it was filmed really nice as well.
I'm going to piggyback off of that and say that, yeah, the cinematography for Rogue One is probably my favorite, aside from The Last Jedi, but I would probably give it to Rogue One.
Do you have any favorite parts of the movie that are your favorite pieces of cinematography, or just like the whole thing?
I mean the shots that immediately strike me are the ones of like the Death Star eclipse shots. I thought that was really cool. I don't know, it still kind of irks me slightly, but the Death Star is like the size of like Earth's moon, and it just feels so huge in Rogue One that it has never looked that big in any of the other movies, but it's fine. It looks great.
Well, they put a lot of detail into the Death Star. They were working off the miniatures from the original, and they basically redid the whole miniature in CGI in order to have it as close as possible. And they also had never-before-seen footage added to the film as well. The footage of some of the X-Wing pilots were originally deleted scenes from the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope. They were digitally remastered and put into the movie. I thought that was a cool thing that they did. They asked the family's permission and all that, of course. But it just added a nice, hey, look, we found this extra stuff. Let's use it because we can, and connect it to the next movie with just a nice little tie-in that they didn't have to do, but they chose to. It's got a really home movie type feel to it, like the originals do, compared to the prequels, which are just CGI everywhere. It just does not go away.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's another aspect of like Rogue One that I really like, that it, in a way, I mean, I guess since the originals, it's the Star Wars movie that feels the most like it could be part of that series, like you said, as opposed to like the prequels, which are just a bunch of CGI everything. No one's convinced Yoda's there.
No. Was it that hard for them to get a puppet? No. They literally had one made. Just call the Jim Henson shop. I'm sure they'll do it. But
what are your favorite what's the favorite scene of yours?
It's not necessarily for the cinematography, but when K2S2
K2SO.
Yeah, SO. So, yeah.
There you go.
The droid.
Sounds good.
When he accidentally, when he hits Cassian, obviously it was an accident, and he didn't actually wasn't supposed to get hit, but you can kind of see the smirk on his face. He's it's just another fun fact that has no effect on the movie.
I like the K2SO. The one scene where Jin shoots a drone like him on Jeddah, and he's like, "Did you know that wasn't me?" Yeah, it's a lot of good lines.
Yeah, it gives it a nice sense of I don't want to say comedy, but comedy.
Yeah.
To the movie, because if you think about it, it's literally a girl that watched her mother die. Her father disappeared or was taken by the bad guys. She was stuck in a cave. She was found by this other guy, but she ends up in jail eventually. Well, that sucks. A lot different than like, well, I guess it's not that different because like similar to Ray, except yeah, Ray's
They're probably
story
gonna
is a
have
little different.
an
If we want to talk about Rise of Skywalker, we can. I have thoughts.
eventually. I
Eventually.
have many thoughts.
Good, bad, and in between.
But speaking of the sequels, my favorite Star Wars movie is The Force Awakens, surprisingly. I mean, the main two reasons are one, just like the theater experience I had going to see it. I feel that was the first Star Wars movie I ever got to see in theaters. Like I'd seen all of the prequels up until that point, and I think I'd seen all the original trilogy movies too, but I never got to see it in any theaters. So getting to see that in theaters, it was also like a Thursday night premiere when I went, and I don't know, it was just like it was like the most perfect viewing experience and like the perfect night that like I feel like no matter what's just going to be biased for any other Star Wars movie because it just hasn't matched up to that. But so that, and then also to a certain extent, it pretty much is kind of just A New Hope again. It's just been modernized, I guess. Like there, no offense to the actors of the original, but the performances are better, cinematography is better, the music is as good as always, CG is better.
They didn't really have CG in the
Well,
originals.
yeah,
I mean, they
and
did. They used like green screen blocking technology and all that, and miniatures and matte paintings, which like movies should use more.
I agree.
Maybe it's just the artist in me that's speaking. It's like, look at this beautiful thing that you could have someone paint, like, and it's gonna look real forever. Like, look at Jurassic Park. Like, it still looks real because they used real dinosaurs. But that's
Real
not on
fake
topic.
dinosaurs.
Hmm?
Real fake dinosaurs.
Real fake dinosaurs. Yes.
If they'd use real dinosaurs, I'd be very impressed.
You know, just cloning DNA technology,
Yeah.
that everyone has. Speaking of which, cloning technology.
uh,
We'll get to that later. But did you have a favorite part in Force Awakens other than like the theater experience?
I would say probably my favorite moment, and again, it's probably tied to the theater experience, like getting to experience it with the crowd that was like super enthusiastic about it, was the scene where Finn and Rey are running in the desert and they're trying to escape because the stormtroopers are like chasing them down, and they're running, and they're trying to get to the ship. It blows up, and then they're like, "Crap, what do we do now?" And then Ray's like, "I guess the garbage will work." And then the camera pans, and it's a freaking Millennium Falcon. The audience like burst out, like, "Oh my god!" And it was just like such a great, funny moment. So probably that, I would
Yeah. Well, the Millennium Falcon is garbage, though.
say.
Like it was made from like scraps and stuff, like the original set. So like, she's not entirely wrong. But that is a good scene. What did you think about Kylo Ren in this movie?
My thing, like I always liked Kylo Ren. I thought he was an interesting character. Like obviously, kind of he was pretty childish and like kind of immature. In a way, it seemed kind of like how Anakin was supposed to be in the prequels, but considering all they got, their acting directions are basically act like a wooden block but speak in the prequels. That didn't really come across, but with Kylo, it was kind of like how I would have pictured Anakin being if he hadn't been forced to act like a wooden block. But I liked Kylo. I thought it was interesting to see because I feel like from the get go he seemed really powerful. Like he like froze that bolt that was shot at him. Like we'd never seen a character do that before.
Yeah,
And then
that scene, that whole beginning is like my favorite part of the whole movie. It's like, oh, here's this, here's this. Oh, look, new bad guy. Freeze,
Blaster.
blaster bolt in midair. Poe's just like, you talk first, I talk first. Like, who's gonna talk? And it's like, yes, I like these characters.
And I feel like they did a good job of like again kind of like modernizing like what like kind of like a young Darth Vader would have been like if he, I mean at that point he would have been Anakin, but um yeah, as we have now found out that arc didn't really end up panning out too well, but in The Force Awakens I really liked all the main characters. So and
Mhm.
I really like the design of the helmet. It's weird because it is kind of like a weird design. There's not really like any, as far as I can tell, any sort of like logical reasoning
It
to like
looks cool.
I mean, yeah. I
Well,
just
I
mean
mean,
like the lines and stuff like it. I don't know, but
so maybe they're just like, yeah, that looks cool. I mean, they used a ice cream machine for a memory keepsake box, so who knows?
I will say another one of my favorite scenes now that you brought Kylo up is the scene where like the one officer tells him the bad news and then he's just like smashing the room and then two stormtroopers come around the corner and then they just see sparks flying out of the room and hear him screaming and then they just like stop and turn around. That
Like,
was
nope, not
like
today. We're not done. No. Mm-mm. Um, I know people like say that Force Awakens is New Hope, but like it's not, but it is. It's like, okay, yes, you have this girl slash boy on a sand planet.
it's a little derivative. It is, but yeah, I feel like it changes it enough up and sets up. I mean, that was kind of J.J. Abrams' whole spiel, but it sets up all these interesting questions and ideas of like where the story could go and blah 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 blah. It is a little repetitive, but I think that it changed more than enough that it still felt fresh to me. It didn't feel like a complete like they just
Reboot?
redid. Yeah, like a reboot.
Reboot.
It didn't feel just like a reboot to me.
Do you want to talk about Last Jedi?
Yeah, we should. However, I'm curious. So, what were your thoughts like when you first watched The Force Awakens? What were your thoughts on like Kylo Ren?
I don't really remember watching it in theaters. I know I saw it because I have it written down in a book because I keep a list of all the movies I see per year. New movies in theaters and then new to me. So I know I saw it. I think Kylo's alright. I don't particularly like what happens later in the series with him and another person.
Yeah.
um, but I think his character was set up very nicely, and I didn't expect him to be like Han Solo and Leia's like kid. I mean, I don't get why people are fascinated with Adam Driver, but
Because
I don't
he's
know.
just Adam Driver. There's just no one like him. He's a wonderful man.
Sure. um, I more like the trio, like even though they don't meet in, or Ray doesn't meet Poe in this movie,
Oh yeah.
which I wish they met beforehand. I think Ray was set up very nicely as a scavenger. Her theme is really, really good. Like, I really like it because it has that like traditional, original Star Wars feel, but it's also like new and refreshing. And having a stormtrooper like be like, no, I don't want to be a stormtrooper. Like, I was forced into this, and I don't want to do it. I thought that was a cool thing too. The droids are pretty cool in the sequels as well. BB-8, he's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like the addition of BB-8 and I will say before the movie came out, I was iffy on it. I was like, this is dumb. Why would a robot be a soccer ball all of a sudden? He definitely like grew on me like almost instant. I will say I really like I love the idea of Finn's character, like him renouncing the Empire slash First Order and like not wanting to kill and do all that stuff. But then two things, and we're probably gonna get this anyway, but one, they don't really touch on this idea at all until they kind of half touch on it at the end. And the second thing is it's a great idea, and I guess I can't expect much from it kind of opens up this whole morality can of worms
Hmm.
in The Force Awakens that is never addressed
It
where,
does.
okay, there's this one stormtrooper that is clearly like sane and he's saying that all these kids are taken and that's all these stormtroopers, but they still go on to massacre all of the stormtroopers in The Force Awakens without
Yeah.
any remorse.
Yeah. I was thinking about that when I was rewatching the last one. They have Finn and then the other girl that's a
Anna.
stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you why'd you bring this up now? Like, why didn't you bring it up later or earlier and everything else?
Like, to the people that like Rise of Skywalker, if you like bring that up, like, oh well, they didn't do it in Last Jedi, but like that's not it's not a what about it, isn't it? It's not, oh, what about the Last Jedi? They should have brought it up in The Force Awakens in the movie that they brought up that plot point to begin with, but
Hmm.
whatever, it's fine. It's a fun space adventure where you just forget everything, so it's whatever. I don't know.
It's a space opera. They should just break out into song. Could be the
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera. That's Kylo Ren. He is
Uh,
the Phantom.
I would pay money to see a Star Wars opera with Adam Driver as the lead.
It'd be interesting. I mean, he's got the mask and the scar on his face, so like there you go. That's all you need, and a creepy chandelier. I don't
Chandelier.
know if they have chandeliers in Star Wars universe.
I think there were some on the casino on The Last Jedi. I could be wrong though. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know. The casino part in Last Jedi is a very interesting story plot point that a lot of people have issues with. I don't see why. Okay, I see why, but it's just a fun movie. Like, did you watch Empire? All they do is sit on a snow planet and sit in a swamp. At least they go somewhere. And yes, Poe is being stupid and Finn is being stupid and they're being stupid. Like, just calm down. They have a plan. They know what they're doing. They're generals or commanders. Like, just sit still. But no, they have to go do other things. But
like, yeah, I feel like I'm in the similar boat where I I really like The Last Jedi. It is my number 3 in my Star Wars rankings.
mm,
So top 3, and I love what Ryan Johnson tried to do, which he tried to basically grow the story. He tried to like actually write the characters and progress their story and not think about the past as much. I like the idea that like the story beats and like how they had pretty clear arcs. Like Poe, he goes from this cocky, hot-headed rebellion pilot, and then by the end he's becoming a leader who's more level-headed and thinks things through. Like at the end, especially like when they're on Crate and they're going towards like the mini Death Star thing, they're like gonna just like bull rush it, and then Poe is like, "Oh, this isn't gonna work out. We need to just retreat instead of just trying to fight." And then it's Poe that still hasn't, or no, it's Finn that still hasn't learned to
the
not be so like
lesson.
hard headed. Yeah, like I feel like that was like his major turning point. We're like, "Oh, okay, he gets it now."
Mhm.
And then Finn, like the Rose sacrifice thing being like his catalyst for thinking things through, I guess. But anywho, the casino part. So I like that that was part of those character arcs, and I understand that for what he did or Johnson did, like that was a part of their arcs. Like I don't know any way that you could cut that out and the movie would still work with them having character arcs or whatever. But yeah, I agree that it could have been better. Because ultimately, if you don't look at just the character arcs portion, that whole section of the movie is pointless. It's just one big diversion. And I remember sitting in theaters and be like, okay, where is this? Okay, so they're coming to get this code breaker. Okay, so now they're in jail. Okay, so that code breaker wasn't even important because apparently any guy anywhere can just do it anyway. That's definitely probably the biggest shortcoming of that movie, I would say.
I, I I understand that. Yeah, it could have been done differently. Like, if you had to find a code breaker, like, wouldn't there be a code breaker like on your like team? Like, the tech people, couldn't they break code? Like, slightly off, but still involving the code and their whole plan. C3PO is there when they're like telling the whole plan. Like, why did he just go to Leia and be like, look, your adopted children are being stupid. Can you please, why wouldn't he tell Leia? Why wouldn't they stop it before it happened? Before they almost die on a ship? They didn't have to die, and then ruin the plan, and then they get attacked, and then
I mean, I think at that point, Leia was already in her coma, so I don't know that 3PO could have said
hmm,
anything.
I don't remember. You're probably right though.
I only think so because I think at that point they were like looking to like for leadership, and Poe was aggravated because that's when Commander Haldo,
Hmm.
uh, Vice Admiral Haldo. There we go. That's when she like comes on board and she's like, "I can't trust you because we might have a mole, but not in those words." And then she's like, "You're reckless and you're a flyboy, so fly away." And then he's like, "Oh no, I'm angry. I'm gonna go and make dumb decisions with Finn, my buddy." Um, so yeah. So I think at that point, and then 3PO, all he did was say hi and bring up his stupid red arm in The Force Awakens. So he did nothing there. In The Last Jedi, all he did was he was part of the mutiny by accident and
Hmm.
then did nothing beforehand and nothing after. So he did nothing then either. So
Yeah.
I think he probably heard them talking. He's like, I don't want to get involved I'll just
Like,
sit
nah,
here and do nothing.
not today. I've already done enough. I don't want to get involved in this.
That whole thing, like from a character arc standpoint, like from a writing standpoint, like it makes sense. Like I can clearly see what they were trying to do there, but yeah, it's definitely probably could have been better without it. But then, yeah, I don't know, because then
Like,
how do you involve Captain Phasma and all this other stuff, which ultimately didn't end up mattering anyway because of how that went.
speaking of C3PO and then R2 and then the whole planet in isolation, you're like, hey, Luke was isolating before we had to for a while. I mean, if he can do it, we can do it.
You bring up a good point. I don't know how long he was there. I don't think they ever say in the movies. Because at that point, it had been a while because Kylo went from being a student to Snoke in The Force Awakens. Snoke still hadn't finished his training. So I don't know. Yeah, it could be a toss up. Could be a week. Could be 5 months. Could be a year. Either way, your point still stands. If Luke can do it, we can do it. It's only
Yeah,
been what, like a month?
month and a week or something. Anyways, back to Star Wars. What do you think of all of Luke's character and Rey's character during this movie? Because I know people have issues with it, but people have issues with everything.
So I don't have a problem with Luke's character. To me, I felt that that was an interesting decision. He was trying to create a new Jedi Order, and then I mean his whole arc in the Last Jedi, I feel like powerful because in a way he did exactly what he said he couldn't do, but he finds a way to do it in a way that actually matters again. Because at the end of the movie, like at the beginning of the movie, they're losing all hope. Galaxy's losing all hope. But by the end of the movie, he re-inspired the galaxy by doing the one thing he said he thought was pointless in doing. He lived up to the legend of his name. Him and Ray, though, he was pretty much just Yoda in Empire. Like, if you watch that movie, Yoda didn't do anything. He was just like, I'm an old grumpy little guy. Go pick this thing up out of the swamp. Oh, you can't do it? Okay, well, you suck. Watch me do it. Okay, bye. You're gone now because I barely taught you anything. I don't know. I feel like I liked Yoda, obviously, but I just don't think he did as much as people give him credit for. Like, Luke still left early before his training was complete. And yeah, he still got at least some official training. Luke didn't really do much with Rey. He just
He was like, "Oh, you went to the dark side? Goodbye. I don't want to teach you at all."
yeah.
They're like, "Do you have dark side visions too? You have a whole movie where you wore black, so like, you can't blame her."
Yeah, it's pretty hypocritical, especially of him to do, especially considering how much he battled with the dark side. I part of that I will say it comes down to the editing room because apparently they did film a whole other like complete lesson, and apparently there's this whole story beat where the First Order actually discovers where Luke is first before Rey even leaves, and then that's why in one of the trailers you see Rey running on the beach with like her lightsaber because there was actually like a battle scene on the island where they're invading, and so there was more to that, but for some reason they cut that third lesson. So technically he says he's going to teach her 3 lessons, and I think he teaches like 1.5, and then she's like, bye, you're not helping me.
Be like, "I have to be you. I have to go save my friends. Peace out."
Which is
As
the exact same situation as Empire.
Last Jedi is a good movie and I like it and I enjoy it. But like it takes elements from Empire, just the way Force Awakens takes elements from New Hope. And yet people love New Hope because it was, what they wanted. But when you slightly tweak it, everyone's like, that's kind of similar, but like I don't really like it because you like ruined my character because apparently I own the characters. You're not allowed to do anything negative with them. You ruined the entire character arc. Like, I don't even know who this character is anymore. Like, he's supposed to be a hero. Instead, he's, hiding away on an island. Didn't Yoda do the same thing? He went and hid on an island for a while, for a swamp planet. So, like, I don't get why people get mad about Luke when Yoda did the exact same thing.
Because like from what I've seen, because I find it interesting at the same time, slightly, it's hard to comprehend, but I find it interesting to like hear what people dislike about The Last Jedi. From what I've gathered, it's because like Luke was like a fun guy and easygoing, blah blah blah, in the original trilogy, but like he kind of wasn't. In the first one, he was kind of just an immature brat. And then in Empire, he's finally kind of like getting a grasp on things a little bit. And then the bombshell announcement comes, and he's like, "No, this can't be." And then by the third one, he's just like, "Yep, this is a thing." and then he's just like more solemn and serious. I don't see at any point in that whole trilogy where he was this all the time like fun, happy guy that was just always cracking jokes. So I don't know. That's why I don't have a problem with it. But
I understand that. I think people get these specific ideas into their heads about these characters, and they're like, this is what I remember, this is the character, I'm not going away from my point of view on this character. Like, they'll forever be the hero, they'll always be like the cool person, and it's like, okay, but like people hate on the prequels, but like growing up watching the prequels, I was like, cool, lightsabers? Yeah, I want a lightsaber, a purple one specifically. Yes, I want that one. And then like thinking about it, they're campy, they're cheesy, like they're just fun. They're not serious. They don't really even take themselves serious. I mean, they ended up in a garbage pit and referenced it later on. It's like, yeah, that was kind of dumb. I guess people just don't see that. So you have to put the movies in context of how they were perceived when they came out. Like, everyone hated Empire when it came out. They're like, I don't like this. What is this? That's not possible. Darth Vader's not his father, all this other stuff. But then you get the context of the third movie and, you know, that time, and now everyone loves it. So I think that's what's going to happen with with Last Jedi. I think people are going to grow to love it.
so what are your thoughts on Luke and Rey relationship?
I think the relationship's fine. I wish everyone had a bit more bonding time. Like, I don't have a problem with the relationship. Like, he's a teacher, she wants to learn. He's being stubborn, she's being stubborn. They're all being stubborn. They won't listen to anyone. Like, if you just communicate, your problems would be fine.
Literally
Especially,
all of the characters in that movie.
like, literally, if Luke would have just talked to Ben and been like, "Hi, Ben. Yes, it's me, your uncle. I've noticed you have some problems with the dark side. Would you like to talk about it? Do you need to go to space therapy?" Truthfully, they should all be in space therapy, but that's not fun to watch.
Got some issues. It could be. You never know.
It is now time for the film technique fact of the day. Our film technique of the day is transition wipes. A wipe is a film transition where one shot replaces another by traveling from one side of the frame to another, or with a specific shape. Star Wars has many examples of these transition wipes. They have diagonals, barn door wipes, clock wipes, circle, are also known as iris wipes. So that's been the film fact of the day. Now on to the next topic of Rise of Skywalker.
So then, do you want to go to the Rise of Skywalker?
Sure, why not? I know you have thoughts about it.
I have many thoughts. I have a dedicated pro-con list. But before we get into any of that, what are
I'm not
your thoughts on the Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker. I saw it twice. I saw it third time recently. Made stupid comments about it through the whole thing. I mean, I'm pretty neutral on it. Like, I don't hate it. I don't dislike it. There are areas of the film that I have problems with. But overall, it felt Star Wars-y. It felt space opera-y. And then you get to the end, and it's like, okay, am I watching Avatar? Am I watching Harry Potter? Or I'm watching Endgame? Like, when I say Avatar, I mean The Last Airbender. Yeah. Your thoughts?
Well, probably less than a handful of moments, in my opinion, where I'm like, yeah, this feels kind of Star Warsy. Like, anytime Babu Frick is on screen, perfect. 10 out of 10. Babu Frick for president. Other than that, I mean, like, feels like a hollow imitation of Star Wars to me. I don't know. Like, it feels like, to me, it feels just like a corporate misinterpretation of Star Wars. We're like, we're just going to make money anyway. Let's just throw Star Wars stuff here, throw Star Wars stuff there, some lightsaber battles that are pointless, and then call it a day. And that's kind of what happens. Yeah, it just feels hollow. Like, I feel like nothing holds any ground. I literally only have 5 pros on my pro list.
How
And I
many
have one.
cons?
I'm sure there's a few other things, but I tried to keep it concise. I have 12 cons, which are much longer than my
They're like,
pros.
the pros are like Babu Frick.
My literal first pro bullet point in all caps is Babu Frick. So, yes, Babu Frick. The other ones are my faves from the cast. So, Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Kerry Russell, Carrie Fisher. Kerry Russell did a great job in The Rise of Skywalker. I thought she was an interesting character. It just sucks that she's literally pointless. She just came out of nowhere. I liked her costume. She did a great performance. she also has one of the many fake deaths in the movie, only to suddenly fly in at the finale because no one dies in Star Wars. Um, I liked Dio, the new droid. Literally did nothing, but I thought it was adorable when they like
He
tried to
was
pet him,
adorable.
and they're like, he's like, no thanks. And he just like wheeled away. Um, there's also one shot that looks awful, but I enjoy in The Rise of
Okay.
Skywalker when they land on the planet with the Death Star wreckage, and like they crash on the Falcon, they get off, and then there's just like one shot that looks like it was recorded on like a handheld camcorder with like terrible color grading of BB-8 and Dio just like rolling around in the grass. It's pointless. Nothing to the story added, but for some reason I like it. It's endearing. So maybe
You're,
that's the point. But
you're like, I like this right here. I want, like, this is good. Everything else, not so much.
if they were gonna do what they were gonna do and just throw everything out like they did, they might as well have just made episode 9. They should have started the opening crawl with, "Hey, so we don't know what to do with this storyline anymore. So here's Babu Frick, this character you haven't met yet, but you're gonna know, and BB-8 and this new droid Dio, and they're just gonna fly around in the galaxy and do random stuff." That I would have been okay with because at least that would have made somewhat sense, you know. And then my two last pros were most of the humor, cinematography was those are my pros for the epic 9-part conclusion to this long running story.
They should have split it in two.
They should have done a lot of things, Miranda.
Yes, they should have. But I agree with your list, your pros there. Those are some pretty good ones. I liked the sand chase, speeder chase with the like. That was cool. I liked that. Was it really relevant to anything? No.
Was that the they fly now part?
Yeah, yeah. It's that part. I was like, oh, this is cool. This reminds. I've only seen Treasure Planet, like the Disney animation Treasure Planet, like one time, but I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like that. Just, I guess, the association I have with sand speeders. There's other things that I dislike. Like, there's several things that my brain's like, I don't particularly like these, but like, I don't have major problems with them.
Just because I know it's going to come up. So, two things. The first one, what are your thoughts on Disney boasting about the LGBTQ moment at the end of Rise of Skywalker?
I feel like if they're going to have LGBTQ representation, they should do it right and not just have like a 2-second kiss between two people at the end of their film. But it's Disney and they want money, so they're not gonna put something in their film that they know will upset people. Unfortunately, that's the reality we live in. It really sucks that we can't see that more in media. It would help so much with representation and understanding oneself.
And yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like they do it to appeal to people, but I don't know of anyone that appreciate it because it's such an afterthought. Like it feels like something like they were like done filming for the day and they were like they had finished their final shot of like that shot that they were working on, and someone was like checking off a list like, oh crap, we forgot to add in the LGBTQ moment that we're gonna like market, and like, oh yeah, crap, let's just pan the camera right back to everyone's still like in their spot, let's just do it. And then that's how it feels like. It's just literally 2 seconds, blink and you miss it, with two non-main characters. For all intents and purposes, like maybe there are people that care, but like for all intents and purposes, people don't really care about these characters. They're just kind of background characters anyway, so that really irked me.
Yeah, I wish they would just do it correctly. I say correctly as if I know, but I don't know. If they're gonna say they have these LGBTQ plus characters, then they should create a relationship showed on screen.
The other scene I would love to talk about, as I'm sure you're aware now, is the scene between Kylo Ren and his betrothed Rey.
No, 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 no. I literally sat in the theater. Both times I went and watched it, I was like, no. I was sitting in the theater the first time, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. No, 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 no. And my sister literally told me to shut up. She like hit me in the arm, and she's like, be quiet. I was like, no, they can't do this. They don't like each other. Ugh. Yeah, I have issues with that. They don't even like each other. Like they have no relationship together. all they do is yell at each other and be like, oh, sorry, I forced, like, we have this forced connection, but, like, I'm stubborn. Okay, this is me as Kylo Ren. He's like, I am a 15-year-old boy, and I like this girl, and she doesn't like me back. I don't know why. And she's in my room, and I have to go get her out of my room. Like, I don't even like her, but I do like her, but I won't tell her because, but, like, I don't see, it's not a romantic relationship. I don't like it.
I don't like it. It did not feel natural at all.
No, it
I,
didn't. Like, they
I
could have just hugged. Like, literally, why? The whole other two, there was like no romantic relationship, anything. And then you just, oh yeah, we're just gonna throw this in here because we can. Why didn't you build their character up more? Why didn't you like say they liked each other? Like,
Rey literally pretty much killed Kylo, but because Leia died, she brought him back.
she's like, oh, I'm sorry that I almost killed you. Your mom died, so now I feel really bad, so I have to bring you back to life. I'm, like, I know I stabbed you, but I guess I kind of like you, like, a little bit, like a tiny little bit.
So obviously, like in The Force Awakens, there's nothing there. It was just you're a monster, you're a scavenger who's annoying. In The Last Jedi, there's small inklings, at least in my opinion, of something. There was at least a groundwork establishment of a type of relationship that wasn't 100% clear, but they were kind of each other's support system. And then like they have the whole scene where like they touch hands through the force connection. So they have like a slight inkling up
Like,
until that
we're
point.
like kind of friends. We're like workplace associates.
It feels like a little bit more personal than that, I guess. But like,
That was a Parks and Rec
oh,
reference.
never mind. I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, just ignore it. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, even it still wasn't clear. And then, like, you get the whole battle scene, which is great. But then at the end of it, like, they take separate paths, whatever. They have a relationship. It's not
Yeah,
really
they definitely have a relationship,
just
but
not a romantic
yeah,
relationship.
no.
And then so they go from here, this complicated standpoint, but they have interesting places they could go. And then they basically completely undo all the characterization that happened in Last Jedi for Kylo. And then in The Rise of Skywalker, he's basically just a mindless drone again, pretending to be Darth Vader, like he was in The Force Awakens. There's one line that he says, and it really, I don't see many people talking about it, at least from what I've seen, I don't know, but it was really off-putting to me. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's off-putting where he's like, you should come with me because you should join me or whatever. And she's like, no, I'm doing my own thing. He's like, well, if you don't join me, I'm going to basically force you to do it. And it's like, whoa, dude,
You're
whoa.
like, excuse you, no.
Yeah, like
Like,
she
that's
said no, like
no.
settle down. And then Rey, her character starts out in a similar enough place to where the end of Last Jedi happened. Then everything else happens, and so Miranda, how do you feel about Rey being a Palpatine?
Oh, she's a Palpatine? Interest. I thought Palpatine was dead. He fell off a roof or something. I don't remember. Did he fall off a roof?
They push him down the Death Star chute,
Yeah.
vent, whatever you want to call it.
Maybe he landed in a garbage pit, and that's why he's alive.
Garbage compactor.
I mean, okay, she's a Palpatine, but like, I thought this was supposed to be about new beginnings, and not the past, and then they just bring the past right back up. It's like, okay, why does she have to be a Palpatine? Why do you have to connect it back to there? Why can't these characters stand on like by themselves? Like, why do they have to be interconnected with the original story? Like, I thought this was supposed to be new. She could just be Rey. There's multiple characters in the Star Wars universe who don't have last names. It's like she could just be Rey. Let her be Rey. Why does she have to be, the Emperor, granddaughter?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Which brings up the point, like, why wasn't I think her dad was Palpatine's son? Like,
Yeah.
why didn't he become this evil Sith guy? Why?
Even the screenwriters don't know.
Okay, this is a theory. I think it's my sister's theory. I don't know if she found it somewhere else. But she said that Rey's dad is a clone of Palpatine. Yeah, so Palpatine cloned himself and made his quote-unquote son. And his quote-unquote son then had Rey. the cloning went wrong or something. So he's like not a Sith, except like can't anybody be a Sith?
Apparently not. Apparently only bloodlines matter in this universe now. So
Apparently. I didn't know this was a medieval royal TV show. Yeah, so he's a clone, making Rey a clone, making that theory, the whole theory of clones, true.
So I hadn't heard that exact part where his son was a clone, but I think either in a comic book, because that's apparently how Star Wars lore is built now. I guess I shouldn't say lore. I should say stuff that should have been explained in a movie, but they don't know how to write in, so then they just segue to other media. It was confirmed that in this 30-year time span that Palpatine has been alive. Supposedly, he's been like making an endless supply of clones, of cloned bodies. His power is too great for one body to hold, so that's why he has to keep making more, because after a bit they deteriorate to the point where he can't live in it anymore. So then he just swaps bodies constantly. I don't remember like the thing that I read, but there's a reason. So he's in his final body. I don't know if he couldn't keep making more or he was too powerful. I don't remember. There's something going on, and that's why in the Rise of Skywalker, he's like, I need this to happen now because my body is going to deteriorate, and then my soul won't be able to go anywhere else. So I need Rey to do this because then she'll take my power. Blah 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 blah. So that's why like that aspect is happening of the movie. That's why like he's in that stupid arm puppet machine thing. As far as the son being a clone of his, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. If anything, that would somewhat make sense considering everything else they yeah, I just figured I'd add that to that point that you brought up because apparently that's canon.
They like clones in Star Wars. They're like, we don't know. We're just gonna be like, clones.
I think we were talking about because we were talking about Endgame a while back, and you said that so you didn't like that they went like that they resorted to time travel in that movie, right?
I don't mind the time travel in Endgame. I think their time travel suits are dumb. They're CGI and they're dumb. I don't particularly dislike it.
So I guess before I keep going on this ridiculously long journey to the point I was trying to make, so because I don't remember if it was you that said this, but someone I know said that they think time travel is kind of a weak writing tool, I guess. Like
Yeah.
in the same way that other movies constantly use time travel as a crutch, Star Wars uses cloning as its major crutch. I
I
feel
see
like
that. Yeah.
throughout, even like some expanded universe stuff, I remember seeing like so much of the expanded universe, as far as I know, like from the very minimal stuff I know, there's always clones in some way, shape, or form. So another thing, what are your thoughts on Rose Tico?
I think Rose is cool. I'm sad and disappointed that they basically erased her to a side, like not even a side character, just a background character in Rise of Skywalker. And I think her character in Last Jedi, Last Jedi was fine. It would have been cool to see her like part of the posse, the fam, the
Yeah.
squad, whatever you want to categorize it. But your thoughts?
I mean, I will say by no means in any way, shape, or form any of my favorite characters in The Last Jedi. I didn't hate her. They could have done something more with her character, and even in that movie. And I'm also not a fan of, again, the out of the blue random show of love slash random kiss at the end on the Battle of Crate, where I personally, and not because I don't like his character, I really like his character. I think it would have been maybe too dramatic or whatever. But I think in Last Jedi on the Battle of Crate, it would have been more powerful if Finn had destroyed the Death Star thingy and then sacrificed himself and died. But that's a whole other thing. But anywho, so yeah, she blocks him from doing that. He gets stuck. He's like, "Why did you do that?" And then she's like, basically, because I love you, smooch, and then like passes out. And I feel like that
Yeah.
was just like completely out of left field. And so I was like, not that that's her fault, but like that whole thing, I was like, all right, well, all right. So you have this character that has potential to be interesting, but they like screwed the pooch on so many different parts throughout the movie where like she could have done one thing and then she like does one thing. And it's like, why? I was hoping that they would, like you said, like have her be part of the crew or the fam or the squad or whatever you want to call it in the Rise of Skywalker, and like you get to see their interaction. And from I guess body language cues of the end of The Last Jedi, like what I was picking up was like when Rey and Poe met, they seemed to be pretty smiley. So I'm like, oh okay, they'll probably maybe end up together or something in the next one. That's what I was picking up with that. And then obviously you had Rose and Finn. They were like setting up, in my head at least, these two distinct relationships, whatever. And so then when episode 9 opens up and Rose is nowhere to be seen, and then you have Finn and Poe, I mean not Rey, but I guess technically she's in that group, and then Rose is just like in the background giving like pointless dialogue to the characters for like 2 minutes of the whole movie is just dumb. I don't know. I agree. I feel like they, instead of just being like, oh no, the fans didn't like her, let's just erase her from the movie, instead of doing that, they should have made sure that they wrote her like super strongly and that she was a much more prevalent character. Whether like they could have, if they didn't want to deal with the Finn and her relationship, they could have just been like, hey, there was this thing, didn't work out, like we're just friends now. I don't know, something like that. They didn't have to like pursue that thread if they didn't want to. But I think just writing her out of the movie was awful for
Yeah, it was awful. And it's not the first time they've written a character out of a movie. People didn't like Jar Jar. Not to compare Jar Jar with Rose,
yeah.
but people had issues with him, so they wrote him out. And it's like, you can't just do that. If someone has an issue with your movie, maybe you should reevaluate what you did, or maybe evaluate where they're coming from. But there's just some irritating people out there. It's like, it's a movie. It's fun. It's fantasy. You're supposed to watch it and forget about your like the world you're living in. It sucks so much that they wrote this character that had so much potential and then just was like, yeah, well, this stupid person over here on Twitter said they didn't like her, so I guess she's not in the movie anymore.
And like the worst part is like not only did she have to put up with all like the negative stuff that people were posting online, I don't know if it got to the point of death threats. I know people just said like really hateful and xenophobic things on her social media to the point like she just stopped using social media, or at least stopped using it nearly as much. And like it sucked because like she was so excited to be a part of the movies. Like you could tell like in the interviews of like Last Jedi and things like that, like she was just really excited to be part of the universe. And then to have to put up with like 2 years of that, and then to literally be shoved into like maybe 2 minutes of screen time of like the next movie after that, it's just like I can't imagine like how awful that would feel. Like you're so excited to be part of this, and then the last thing you want to do is be attached to this because they don't care that you're even there, basically.
Yeah, it really sucks. They could have handled it better.
Amongst many things, I think ultimately my two biggest gripes with Rise of Skywalker are Palpatine. That to me is just like the number one cardinal sin of like the laziest possible thing they could have done. And
It's like they put all there's those generators where it's like you make a bot like watch all the Batman movies and it produces a script. That's what they did with Star Wars.
yeah.
They put all 7 of them, eight of them. Okay, I guess Palpatine was said a lot, and force and anger. Okay, that's our plot.
I agree. It did not feel in any way cohesive to I don't even know, like looking in a vacuum, like I don't even know if it'd be any better, but like yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it definitely feels very like computer generated, like who's the villain? Ah, Palpatine. He was, an important part of 6 movies. Let's just bring
Yeah.
him back. And then my second biggest gripe is the whole Rey being a Palpatine thing, because outside of that, like that one GIF from Spider-Man 2 where J. Jonah Jameson is like serious and then he just starts laughing. Like
Possibly.
he's like this and then he just like starts like dying laughing, like leaning his head slowly back. That was me in the theater, and they're like, "You're a Palpatine," and I'm like,
No.
"What?"
I respect that the council has made a decision, but it's a stupid one, so I'm
Yeah.
ignoring it.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. That's how I felt. Because amongst many problems with this movie, one of the biggest problems to the pacing, to the overall story, is just the fact that they retread so much ground unnecessarily. The end result of this movie is literally a worse version of the end result of The Last Jedi. We already knew, technically, because we didn't know exactly what they looked like, but did it really matter? No. We already knew who Rey's parents were. She already figured out, oh, okay, I need to be Rey. That's who I am. I'm Rey in the movie. And
I'm
also
Rey Star Wars.
Rey Star Wars, yeah. That would have been good. I mean, the end point of The Last Jedi was anyone can be a hero. Anyone can do the right thing with like that little boy and his broom being like a glimpse of hope in the universe or whatever.
Yeah.
But then in Rise of Skywalker, it's, oh, what's your name? Rey. Rey what? You need a last name.
It's a movie. It was made.
Yeah, it was made. But at what cost, Miranda? At what
The
cost?
cost of, here, let me figure it out. $275 million. That was the budget. It made back $1,058 billion. That's a lot of money.
That's probably not even including the marketing, which is probably like another 250 million, or maybe
Probably.
not that much, but an exorbitant amount considering how much they, and then also the toys and everything else, which I'm sure they get deals with their manufacturers. But I digress.
It cost
like,
a lot. We'll
yes,
just say it cost a lot.
it
Like a
costs
lot,
too
a lot.
much.
Too much.
It wasn't worth it.
Some
Let's
people would
just-
disagree with that.
I don't care what those people have to say. let's just erase it from the history books and pretend like it never happened.
Okay, well, when you get time and rewrite the last Star Wars movie, I'll be the first one in theaters to watch it. It will be better.
You know, at this point, I might as well just start writing the next trilogy that they're gonna do in 20 years. Oh, but you know how the Terminator series constantly pretends that other movies haven't happened, or the Michael Myers series or the Halloween series went back and pretended like everything except for like the first one or second one didn't happen? Yeah, let's do that with Star Wars, but just pretend like 9 didn't happen. Yeah, that sounds good to me. All right, cool. I'd be okay with that.
I mean, they could.
They could, but I doubt that they will.
We'll see in the future then. Would you like to know some fun facts?
I would love to know some fun facts.
Okay. Well, did you know Susie Rice made the original Star Wars logo?
I did, but only because you told me.
Yes. And then it was later modified by Joe Johnson. So the first Star Wars film in which a title was spoken was Rogue One. It was used as the call sign.
Oh.
I don't believe they've ever said Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, Force Awakens.
They did actually say, technically, they did actually say The Last Jedi in The Last Jedi, because Luke has that whole monologue and he's like, and I will not be the last Jedi.
I did not realize that. Moving on to the next fun fact. The lightsaber sound effect was a combination of a idling 35mm movie projector and the feedback generated by passing microphone cable by a television.
That I would not have expected. That's pretty cool.
Another fun fact that most people know, but in the original movie and when it came out, Han Solo shot first. And then they changed it where Greedo shot first in the 1997 special edition release. And then they changed it again in the 2004 DVD release, where they basically shoot at the same time. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I knew they changed it the second or the first time, but I didn't realize they changed it again. And they'll probably change it one more time in the future. Be like, yes, in the 2020 or the 20, I guess it's 2020 now, so I have to go farther into the future. 2052. Be like, yeah, we're back to Han Solo shooting first. And no weird CGI added stuff. Yeah, those are my fun facts that I found.
Another fun fact that I know is that Jabba was actually a human character before. And I don't know which edition, so I'm not gonna pretend to know, but I think it was in the DVD release when they changed.
Probably in the 1997 when they added all the CGI.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else to add about Star Wars? I mean, we could talk about this forever.
We could pretty much talk about this forever. I guess, I mean, I'm excited about this announcement, but what are your thoughts on Ahsoka Tano supposedly coming to Mandalorian Season 2?
I think that would be really cool. I don't know much about Ahsoka, other than the fact that she was a Padawan of Anakin's, and then she was kicked out of being a Jedi, and then they asked her to come back, and then she died, and then she came back from death. But I think it'd be pretty cool. I mean, I haven't watched The Mandalorian, and I haven't watched Clone Wars or Rebels. Or
Haven't
my
heard of
sister's excited for it. I know she's like, yes, let's do this. Your thoughts?
Like I said, I'm excited. I didn't even know that Ahsoka died at any point.
Oh, sorry,
No,
spoilers.
I mean, if I didn't know at this point, I don't know that I really cared, but I can't say I'm surprised considering,
No one say dead.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm excited. And hopefully, because yeah, I haven't finished season 1 of The Mandalorian. I'm like halfway, I think. But hopefully, Baby Yoda comes back too. So, but yeah, considering all their movies are basically in limbo, they haven't announced anything. There was rumors that they were going to do some movies set in the time of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson's trilogy or whatever is still a go, supposedly. Who knows when that's going to be or what that's about or anything. So,
Well, thank you for being here and talking about Star Wars.
yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was just fun to take a break from the stressfulness of the world right now and talk about something fun, even though it can be annoying and sometimes we have problems with this piece of media, but it's always fun to talk about it.
I would like to throw this in because at the end of this, I don't know how this is all going to come out, but I do like Star Wars. I'm just probably very critical of it. I can't, I mean, I think my Rise of Skywalker pro con list is pretty evident that things can seem a little, I mean, in that case, yes, I really don't have any sort of positive feelings about that movie. But in general, I do like Star Wars. All right, I'm done. I'm done. I just wanted to add that in.
So, thank you for being here to talk about Star Wars. It was a pleasure to have you back on the podcast. A big thank you to everyone who is listening. If you like hearing opinions and fun facts about movies, TV shows, or any type of media, make sure you tune in to the next podcast coming soon. Until then, bye!